Most predators across North America want nothing to do with people. They have learned, through generations of encounters, that humans are loud, unpredictable, and simply not worth the trouble. But there are exceptions. There are predators in this country that have crossed that line, animals that have either learned to see humans as prey, or that are dangerous enough and common enough that fatal encounters have become an unavoidable part of life in certain parts of the country. Some of them are the animals you would immediately picture. Others are the ones that catch people completely off guard. In today's video, we'll be looking at the 7 most dangerous apex predators in America that have killed humans. And to find our first entry, we'll be heading to the warm, shallow coastlines of the southeastern United States. The bull shark is not the largest shark in American waters, and it is not the one that gets the most attention. That distinction belongs to a species we will get to later. But when it comes to raw danger relative to where people actually swim, no shark on this continent comes close to matching it. What separates the bull shark from virtually every other shark species is its ability to survive in both saltwater and fresh water. Most sharks are confined to the ocean. The bull shark is not. It has been documented hundreds of miles up major river systems, turning up in places where people would never think to look for a shark. It is this behavioral flexibility that makes it so dangerous. You do not have to be in the open ocean to be at risk. You just have to be in the water. Bull sharks are naturally aggressive and highly territorial, and they tend to favor the murky, shallow coastal zones and river mouths where visibility is low and human activity is high. This is not a coincidence. These are productive hunting environments, and the bull shark exploits them with a directness that most other species do not. Florida consistently records more shark attacks than any other state in the country, and bull sharks are responsible for a disproportionate share of those incidents. The attacks tend to occur in water that is less than 2 meters deep, often in areas where people wade, surf, or swim on a daily basis. In 2023, a swimmer was attacked by what was almost certainly a bull shark in a popular Florida estuary less than a meter from the shoreline. These are not deep water encounters. They happen in the kind of water you might stand in without a second thought. If you are swimming in warm, murky coastal water anywhere from the Gulf Coast to the Carolinas, the bull shark is almost certainly present somewhere in that ecosystem. You may never see it, but the reverse is not always true. The bull shark takes the 7th place spot. And for our next section, we'll be heading inland, deep into the canyon country and pine forests of the American West, where a predator that most people never expect to encounter has been quietly expanding its range for decades. The mountain lion is the largest wildcat in North America, and it is one of the most effective ambush predators on the continent. It does not chase its prey across open ground. It gets close, uses cover, and it strikes from behind, almost always targeting the back of the neck. This is exactly the kind of attack that humans are poorly equipped to defend against, because by the time most people realize what is happening, the initial strike has already occurred. Mountain lions are found across a vast range in the American West, from the Pacific coastline through the Rockies and into parts of the Midwest, and their population has been recovering steadily in recent decades. That recovery, while a genuine conservation success, has brought these cats into increasingly frequent contact with humans. Subdivisions built into foothills and canyon edges have placed residential neighborhoods directly inside mountain lion territory. Trails that run through their habitat are used by joggers, cyclists, and hikers every single day. And the act of running, which is something that millions of people do outdoors for recreation, is precisely the kind of movement that can trigger a mountain lion's predatory response. California has one of the highest mountain lion populations in the country, estimated at between 4,000 and 6,000 individuals, and the state has recorded some of the most documented attack incidents in the country. In 2004, 2 separate fatal attacks occurred in California within a single week. In Colorado, a trail runner was killed in 2019 after an encounter with a juvenile mountain lion. In that particular incident, the runner managed to fight back and killed the animal, but not before sustaining injuries that proved fatal. Juveniles are actually responsible for a significant share of attacks, not because they are more aggressive, but because they have not yet learned to properly assess risk. A young mountain lion that has not been conditioned to avoid humans is a particularly unpredictable animal. If you ever find yourself face to face with a mountain lion, the guidance from wildlife authorities is consistent. Do not run. Make yourself appear as large as possible. Maintain eye contact. Fight back if attacked. Running is the worst thing you can do because it removes any ambiguity about what you are. The mountain lion takes the 6th place spot. And for our next section, we'll be heading south to the swamps, bayous, and coastal waterways of the Gulf states, where a reptile with one of the most explosive ambush attacks in the natural world has been quietly responsible for dozens of deaths across the past 2 decades. The American alligator has been on this continent in essentially its current form for millions of years. It has outlasted ice ages and mass extinction events, and the reason it has survived for that long is because it is extraordinarily good at what it does. A large alligator, and the biggest individuals can reach nearly 5 meters in length and weigh well over 400 kilograms, is almost perfectly invisible in its environment. It rides low in the water with only its eyes and the top of its head breaking the surface. It barely moves. It barely breathes. And then it strikes with an acceleration that has been measured as one of the fastest ambush attacks of any animal on the planet. Florida has an estimated 1.5 million alligators and leads the country in fatal attacks. Louisiana is close behind with a population of around 2 million. Across the southeastern states, alligators share habitat with tens of millions of people, and they do so in an increasingly intimate way. They are found in suburban retention ponds, golf course water hazards, backyard canals, and drainage ditches. In 2016, a 2-year-old child was pulled from the edge of a lagoon at a major resort in Orlando and killed. The child was standing in only a few inches of water. In 2023, an 85-year-old woman was killed by an alligator while walking her dog near a pond in a residential community in South Carolina. These are not wilderness encounters. They are happening in the kinds of environments that people move into precisely because they feel safe and settled. What makes the alligator particularly difficult to account for is the absence of warning. A dog might growl. A bear might bluff charge. An alligator gives you nothing. There is no signal, no posturing, and no opportunity to recalibrate your response. If you are within striking distance, and striking distance can extend several body lengths from the water's edge, the first indication that an alligator has targeted you may also be the last one you receive with any composure. The American alligator takes the 5th place spot. And for our next section, we'll be heading north into the wilderness corridors of Yellowstone, Glacier, and the surrounding mountain ranges, where the most feared land predator on the North American continent has been making a slow but documented return. The grizzly bear is a different category of animal from the other predators on this list. It is not an ambush hunter. It does not stalk from cover or wait for prey to come within range. When a grizzly bear decides to attack, it does so with a directness and a ferocity that is almost unmatched in the natural world. The largest individuals can exceed 360 kilograms and cover ground at speeds of up to 55 kilometers per hour. That is faster than a racehorse at full sprint, and it means that once a grizzly has committed to a charge, there is no outrunning it. The Greater Yellowstone ecosystem and the Northern Continental Divide ecosystem hold the 2 largest grizzly populations in the lower 48 states, and both areas see the most significant human-bear conflicts in the country. Most fatal attacks involve hikers who surprise a bear at close range, particularly mothers with cubs. The maternal defense response in a grizzly is immediate and overwhelming. There is no bluffing, no gradual escalation. A sow that perceives a threat to her cubs can cover 30 meters in under 2 seconds. In 2011, 2 separate fatal grizzly attacks occurred in Yellowstone within weeks of each other. Both involved hikers who encountered bears with cubs at close range in areas of dense vegetation where the bears had no warning of human approach. A third fatal attack followed in 2015 in the same ecosystem. The grizzly population in the Greater Yellowstone area has grown from fewer than 150 individuals in the 1970s to an estimated 700 or more today. That recovery is one of the most significant conservation achievements in American history. It has also made fatal encounters more likely, and this is a tension that wildlife managers and local communities are navigating with increasing urgency. Bear spray has been shown in multiple peer-reviewed studies to be more effective than firearms in deterring grizzly attacks when properly deployed. But effectiveness depends on proximity, wind direction, and the composure of the person holding the canister, which is a significant variable when several hundred kilograms of bear is closing the distance at 50 kilometers an hour. The grizzly bear takes the 4th place spot, and for our next section, we'll be heading to the open ocean along the central and northern Pacific coast and the waters off the New England shoreline, where the most iconic predatory fish in the world has become a genuine and growing threat to people in the water. The great white shark is the largest predatory fish on the planet, capable of reaching 6 meters in length and weighing more than 2 metric tons. Its sensory system is one of the most sophisticated of any animal in the ocean. It can detect electrical fields, sense pressure changes from hundreds of meters away, and smell blood at concentrations measured in parts per million. It is built across hundreds of millions of years of evolution to find and kill large marine animals. And in certain parts of the American coastline, those large marine animals and the people sharing the water with them are increasingly occupying the same space. The successful recovery of seal populations along the Atlantic coast, particularly around Cape Cod in Massachusetts, has drawn significant numbers of great white sharks into waters that are heavily used by swimmers and surfers. In 2018, Massachusetts recorded its first fatal shark attack in over 80 years. A second fatal attack followed in the same area in 2022. Along the central California coast, the waters around the Farallon Islands and the coastline stretching south toward Big Sur hold one of the most consistently active great white populations in the world. Surfers in this region have accepted the presence of great whites as a baseline reality of their sport, but the number of attacks has increased in step with the growth of the seal population, and the pattern is not expected to reverse. What separates the great white from most other animals on this list is the nature of the encounters. Great whites are not generally trying to eat humans. Most attacks are investigative bites, the shark's method of determining whether an unfamiliar object is worth pursuing as prey. The problem is that an investigative bite from a 6-meter great white is not the kind of thing the human body is equipped to survive without immediate, aggressive medical intervention. In open water, that intervention is almost never immediate. The great white shark takes the 3rd place spot. And for our next section, we'll be heading to the remote coastal wilderness of Alaska, where the largest bears in the world have been recorded killing people with a regularity that sets this region apart from anywhere else in the country. The brown bear, in its coastal Alaskan form, is a genuinely different animal from the inland grizzlies of Yellowstone and Montana. The coastal populations feed heavily on salmon during the summer months, and this protein-rich diet produces bears that are substantially larger than their inland counterpart. Boars on Kodiak Island have been documented at weights exceeding 680 kilograms, making them the largest terrestrial predators in North America by a significant margin. At that size, they are capable of killing any animal on the continent that they choose to engage, and that includes humans. Alaska records more fatal bear attacks than any other state in the country, and the encounters are often qualitatively different from those seen in the lower 48. In the most remote river systems and coastal areas, the bears have less exposure to humans and, correspondingly, less conditioned wariness of them. A brown bear that has never learned to avoid people is an entirely different risk profile from one that lives on the edge of a national park where human presence is a constant. In 2003, a wildlife filmmaker and his companion were killed and partially consumed by a brown bear in a remote area of the Katmai coast. The filmmaker had spent 13 summers in the region and had developed what he believed was a deep understanding of the animals. The bear that killed him had no previous history of aggression toward humans. This is the element of brown bear encounters that makes them so difficult to account for. You cannot read the situation the way you might with an animal that offers clear behavioral cues. A bear that appears calm can become lethal in a fraction of a second, and at 600 kilograms, its commitment to an attack does not leave much room for recovery. Alaska also has polar bears along its northern coast, which are the only bear species that will actively stalk humans as prey rather than engaging defensively. But encounters are rare simply because the areas where polar bears live are among the most sparsely populated on the continent. The coastal brown bear remains the most statistically and quantitatively dangerous apex predator in the country. Year after year, in wilderness environments that remove every safety net that civilization provides, it is the animal most likely to kill you and least likely to give you a warning before it does. No other land predator in America has claimed as many lives in the modern era, and no other predator operates across terrain where help is as difficult to reach. For this reason, the Alaskan brown bear takes the first place spot, and it is a fitting reminder that the most dangerous predator is not always the most famous one. Of course, there are other predators across the country that came close to making this list, and I am sure some of you will feel differently about certain placements. If you have thoughts or suggestions, feel free to let me know down below. But for now, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.